Now it's a time to felicitate two senior most scientists. First we will have Padma Vibhushan Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan with Acharya Bharadwaj Puraskar. I request for display.
मैं आचार्य भारद्वाज, आप सभी को मेरा प्रणाम। मेरा कालखंड आज से 2600 वर्ष पूर्व का है। मेरे द्वारा अभियांत्रिकी, विज्ञान और आयुर्वेद के विषय पर गंभीर चिंतन, अभ्यास, परिश्रम और प्रयोग के पश्चात इन विषयों पर कुछ ग्रंथ अंकित किए गए हैं। विशेषकर यंत्र सर्वस्व ग्रंथ में आकाश, अंतरिक्ष और ब्रह्मांड में संचार एवं आवागमन करने वाले अनेक विशेषता युक्त यंत्रों का निर्माण तथा उनके संचालन का विस्तृत वर्णन किया गया है, जिसे वैमानिक शास्त्र से संबोधित किया गया है। हमारे समय का ज्ञान ग्रंथ अति प्राचीन और संस्कृत भाषा में होने के कारण समाज और विशेष रूप से वैज्ञानिकों द्वारा दुर्लक्षित हुआ है और समयानुसार मेरे पीढ़ी द्वारा किया गया महत्वपूर्ण ज्ञान एवं अन्वेषण लगभग लुप्त होने के तट पर है। मेरे पीढ़ी का सौभाग्य है कि आधुनिक युग में हमारे तपश्चर्या को पुनर्जीवित करने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है। आज अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में उच्चतम श्रेणी प्राप्त और विश्वविख्यात गणमान्य आचार्य श्री कस्तूरीरंगन जी को मेरे नाम से स्थापित आचार्य भारद्वाज पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया जा रहा है। यह मेरे द्वारा किए गए प्रयासों को श्रेष्ठ अभिवादन है, ऐसे मैं मानता हूं और उनका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं। यशस्वी भव, कल्याणमस्तु।
Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan is one of the India's foremost space scientists and has played a key role in the success of country's space program. He has headed the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO. He was the chairman of Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, Chancellor Center University of Rajasthan, Emeritus Professor at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bengaluru. He is a member of several national and international science academies. Dr. Kasturirangan is the only Indian to be conferred honorary membership of the International Academy of Astronautics and also has served its vice president earlier. In addition, he was awarded the famous Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in Engineering. He has been conferred with highest civilian honors Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan. He was also awarded as Officer of the Legion d'Honneur by the President of France, the Award of Merit. And now, almost every teacher once in a day is remembering him because of the National Education Policy 2020, because he played a major role in it. कई राज्य में नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी लग रही है, कई में ऑलरेडी लग गई, कई में लगने वाली है, कई पे बहस चल रही है, कई पे डिबेट चल रही है, कहीं पे बीओएस की मीटिंग्स, वर्कशॉप, सेमिनार्स आदि सब कंडक्ट हो रहे हैं और इन सब में डॉक्टर कस्तूरीरंगन जी का जिक्र हमेशा होता ही है। आज टुडे ही इज फेलिसिटेटेड विथ आचार्य भारद्वाज पुरस्कार, who is the pioneer of aviation technology. I humbly request Dr. Kasturirangan to accept this honor, and I request again Swami Jitendra Nath Maharaj to kindly do this honor. Thank you. We are pleased to have you here, sir. Please share your thoughts with us.
I don't know what to say on this very august and memorable occasion. There are many events in my life when you go through various kinds of things, and there may be sometimes a recognition here and there that happens to you. But something different strikes me today when I'm here with all of you on this very interesting, very thoughtful, very innovative, and most important, divine way of looking at things by conferring an award which is behind one of the most respected and revered sage Bharadwaj. I don't know, I'm really awestruck with the kind of awards name that it carries. You may have a Padma Shri, you may have a Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, but this is awesome. It's very difficult to see. How do you do this? Why do I say this? I was just trying to look at, years back about Bharadwaj in a different context. When you do this education policy, you want to really look at what you call as a perpetuation. How do you try to make it continuous? How do you respond to the dynamic changes that knowledge society witnesses, and so on and so forth? So you look at not only what is going to be done here, what is going to be the future, but in India's case, we can look with pride at the past too. We have a very rich heritage, very rich legacy. In this connection, I looked at Bharadwaj. Sage Bharadwaj, of course, he's aeronautics, mechanical engineering, all kinds of genius things that he did. But one thing that struck me was he had an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. And he was never satisfied with what he knew. He wanted to know more. He wanted to know more. And as he learned more, he asked more questions to himself, and then he had to answer them. So he was really finding, how am I going to learn everything about this universe, about this world? So he went to Brahma. And he asked Brahma, look, I have been working on this. I am trying to understand everything that is around me, everything about this universe, about the scheme of things. But I feel that I don't seem to have understood everything. Can you do me something by which I can learn the whole universe and what is all knowledge represents? So Brahmaji showed him 3 mountains. And those 3 huge mountains they were. And he put his divine hand and took out from one of the mountains this much of sand. And he dropped it like this. See, in your life, this is all you can learn out of those. Then there are 3 mountains of knowledge. And this is all you can learn. So he was very disappointed. What do I do? This kind of a knowledge, and this is the level to which I can learn. So how can you bless me so that I can still have a look at how I can master those 3 mountains of knowledge? And then he asked Brahma, whether can I be born in all the yugas, the 4 yugas, and see whether I can learn during that period of yugas, you know the number of years in a yuga, and whether in a whole cycle. And then go, of course, Bharat is very, very rich in the kind of definition of schemes and times and so on. Then the yugas, the 4 yugas, then Mahayugas, then Brahma's day, Brahma's night, and the whole kind of thing is there. There is a time scale for this. Of course, just to give a little different thing on this, these yuga calculations, if you try to do, sometimes I did a back of the envelope calculation, what does this yuga represent? And I found that if you put this Brahma's day and Brahma's night and make it into one cycle, that cycle comes to about 15 to 16 billion years, as per the number of years in each of the background. And the best of the cosmic radiation explorer of the US says that universe is 13.6 billion years. Can you imagine the kind of thought that these ancient Indians had, that they could say something about the length of the universe to be something like 13, 14 billion. Just look at the kind of numbers, very close. But where would they got this kind of a thing? And how did they segment it in terms of times? Something remarkable. So, but then Brahma gave him the boon. So you will see Bharadwaj's name in Ramayana, you see Bharadwaj's name in Mahabharata, and I am sure today his spirit is pervading here also. That is a kind of a thing. So, why did I put this long story about Bharadwaj? Once you are giving me this, so I know when I said it's awesome, I can't believe that I can carry that kind of a burden. Even in the context of trying to understand that part of the thing that Brahma took and showed what is the present knowledge possibility for you. But the important thing is, when we went to the national education policy, and we wanted to give a policy which will make sure that all the future generation, the present generation, and of course the older generation, who are still want to do something in life, they have to be all catered to. So our whole scheme of creating this policy was the one where, notwithstanding the age, of course you have the schooling education, you have got the higher education, you have the research education, you have got the vocal education, you have the professional education, all that kinds of things are there. But most importantly, that depending on your interest, your inclination and your ambition, you should be able to pick up that part of the education which will make a success for you. So the whole educational system that we have configured, which is the national education policy, is the one in which there is a relevance for everybody at any time, at every point, on everything. So that is the point. In some sense, the kind of things that Bharadwaj was all the time thinking, not that we have replaced his thought by means of a simplistic solution called the national education policy, but most important is that we have addressed it in a way in which it will cater to. We went through a fairly long process because you know this particular policy has come 35 years after the previous one. A lot of things have changed, whether it's social, whether it's economical, whether it's political, whether it's cultural, and many other kinds of things. So obviously education has to be in line with this, so we had to work on those kind of a thing. We did that. We did over 2 years. Even we had our predecessors who went into this particular national policy. There was Smriti Iraniji's work. Then it has been Javadekkar's work. Then again, mostly the present minister, Dharmendra Pradhan's work. And of course, overseen and originally conceived as a necessity for this country by Sri Modi ji himself. So that is the kind of a thing. We have to meet up the challenge, and the minister told us that we have to have this, at least we'll be able to keep the test of time for about 20 years or 25 years. So we have to keep that part of it, and as Anil said, that we have to have a fast-changing world in which the computers are changing, the kind of artificial intelligence, expert systems, machine intelligence, all of them have their say in trying to dynamically change the knowledge spectrum of the society. So with all these things, we have to make sure that there is a relevance for this particular policy and the kind of framework that it will give for the education, which is applicable for 20 to 30 years. So we did this exercise. The country had to be consulted. We went through several processes of consultation, not only educationists, stakeholders, parents, students, teachers, industrial systems, religious sects, and many other kinds of ideologies. Everybody we consulted. The outcome is the report that we have submitted. It has found a currency across the spectrum. I'm not trying to sell this policy, but I want to say the process we adopted to make sure that it becomes applicable and acceptable. And finally, when we put it in the public domain, we got something like 200,000 responses. 85% of the responses were in favor of this policy. So you can see the amount of effort that has gone and the type of appreciation that has gone into it and the critical assessments that have been made and the kind of solution we have propounded for this. So this is the pattern, and I think in a sense, this particular effort and the curricular framework that we have now formulated recently for the school education, and I am sure the higher education is finding its own pace of development for implementing this policy, I am sure India will have a fairly vibrant, dynamic knowledge society for meeting the challenges of the 21st century. Coming from space and having spent nearly all my life in space, I cannot completely overlook not saying about it because the education overrides all other things at the current juncture. Space has grown out of the vision of Sarabhai. Today we have reached the level where we are in the planetary exploration. We went through rocket developments, or satellite developments, application one of the foremost in the world, and currently we are in the development of heavy launchers. We are trying to develop a human space station, and also we have now landed on moon, and we are in the process of trying to look at how to land on the Mars, and then to have a planetary exploration program for the 21st century as a part of both national as well as international collaboration. So this is the whole scheme. And this is, what is interesting is, it does need tremendous amount of interdisciplinarity. It needs tremendous amount of cross-linkages and interfaces between areas of technology, science, social sciences, and so on. So when I look at the 7 rishis, the thought, as Anil said, has gone into them at that particular point. One thing I found was they were all multidisciplinary people, the rishis. They could think of subjects, whether it is algebra and some solutions of quadratic equations, concept of a zero, the concept of a heliocentric world. All this, they had to understand the totality of the systemic knowledge. And that is precisely that has been brought to bear into the space in trying to make it into a successful venture. And I am sure that we have much to learn because of these kind of similarities in the way of thinking, the way of systematizing the knowledge, and the way in which this can be adopted. We need to have work not only with the present areas, the present research, but also our past legacy and past heritage. I am so happy to see that this Hindu Research Foundation, which Sri Balji yesterday explained to me, the objective and the kind of direction he are taking, certainly is a very important. It's not an academic activity alone. It has implications with respect to even looking at the future. There may be things, remember, we talk of universe, and when we talk of universe, we are talking of 4% of the samples of matter. We still don't know what those 96% of the universe is, whether it is in matter and the radius, the dark energy and the dark the matter that we talk about. So we are still very much in the dark. To assume that our ancients thought in a certain way and we are thinking in a different way, it is not true. There is now we are finding that we are trying to converge more and more on the thoughts of ancients with respect to the modern knowledge and the systematizing of the modern knowledge. I conclude this by giving you a most simple example. When we wanted to say that we need to have a liberal education at the undergraduate level, and we need to bring in multidisciplinarity as the key element to this, we went back to the work of Acharya Banabhatta in 14th century. And he had written that Kadambari. And Kadambari says that a person who masters 62 kalas, and this includes all kinds of things which are all practiced by these rishis, then only you become a total man. So that is the heritage that we have got, and that is the one that we are making use of. And we see this relevance not only for this country, it's all across when we talk of Ivy schools in US, it's all simply because they adopt educational system which is integrated, multidisciplinary, and ready to cut across the interfaces between various areas. And that is going to be the future to make ourselves relevant all the time for all the kinds of work and all types of intellectual and academic activity, and ultimately leading into the development of the humanity. So with these few words, I say there is tremendous connections that are possible between the past and the present. And it promises even greater things for the future if we can develop these concepts. And I am sure that the Hindu Research Foundation will have much to do in the years to come. Because the more we develop in the science area or in the technology area or in the other areas, I am sure the more we will have to also look back and see the consistency with some of the brilliant ideas that the ancient rishis has given us and bequeathed to us. I am very, very thankful to all of you for this Hindu Research Foundation and all those who are concerned with it for this very unique privilege that you extended to me to be with all of you and share my own thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. My God, what a tremendous energy. तरुणांना सुद्धा लाजवेल असा उत्साह आहे त्यांच्या वागण्यात बोलण्यात. No wonder, sir, you made all the teachers busy with this blue taxonomy, major, minor, MC paper, input, output, outcome of syllabi, etc.